Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. And today I've got a good one for you all. It is one that I have been wanting to cover for a little while. So we're going to be jumping into fear-mongering within the witchcraft community today. And let me tell you, I'm facing my fears doing this podcast episode today, and I'll get more into that later. So with a lot of weird stuff happening lately, we had the solar eclipse a couple of days ago, and then there's been weird things like the earthquake in New Jersey, and there have been, I think, some tsunami warnings. There's just been some weird shit happening, and it hasn't stopped, really. I mean, let's face it, things have just been weird since 2020. So we're going on 4 years of weirdness. But I've noticed that the fear-mongering has gone from typical places where you see fear-mongering, and now it's starting to trickle into the witchcraft and the magical community. And I'm done with it, frankly. I'm done with it. And this episode is probably going to run a little long today. I might get heated. I really don't know what's going to happen. I have a lot of notes, but I have a lot of feelings about this as well. So let's start with the definition of fear-mongering, because if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then this episode is going to just go right by you. So fear-mongering is the action of deliberately arousing public fear or alarm about a particular issue, okay? So we mostly see it in the news. I don't think anyone can watch the news anymore without coming away being like, well, shit, Government officials like to use a lot of fear-mongering. And just to go off on a small little tangent, did anyone see that crazy conservative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted or something last week that earthquakes and eclipses are signs from God to repent? That was some good shit. I laughed my ass off at that, really hard, because eclipses aren't random. And earthquakes, to a certain extent, can be predicted now by, modern science, but they are definitely, neither one of them are signs from God to repent your sins. But anyway, it's a great transition because she is a government official. She's a representative, House of Representatives or Senate. I'm not really sure. I don't follow politics, but I did see that, and I had to laugh my ass off. But that is a great transition over to the third group of people who absolutely love to fearmonger, and that's organized religions, especially Christianity and conservative Christianity. They're pros at fear-mongering. Let's just put that out there. They are absolute pros at it, follow Jesus or burn in hell. Repent your sins or burn in hell. They have a severe obsession with hell and staying out of it, which is weird to me because, supposedly none of them have ever been to it. So it's kind of I don't know, curiosity kind of peaks out. If you've never been there, how do you know it's horrible? Anyway, weird tangent. But that's the biggest fearmonger out there is probably conservative Christians, just because their way is the only way. And therefore, if you don't believe or do what they do, then you are wrong and you will go to hell. It's also because of this fear-mongering, I think a lot of people begin to look for alternatives when it comes to their spirituality. And a lot of them find witchcraft or Wicca or, being a magical fairy unicorn. If that's what you want to be, then rock it. So I think that a lot of us came from Christianity. And at some point we were kind of Oh man, this fear and this guilt that they are trying to shove down my throat every Sunday and every chance I look around is kind of getting old. I would really rather be a spiritual person without the fear and guilt. So where do I get that at? And hey, over here in the Witchcraft community, we welcome you with open arms. Which is why fear-mongering within the Witchcraft community just absolutely blows my mind. It shocks me. It appalls me. I mean, it causes an emotional reaction, which is exactly what fear-mongers want. But the thing is fear-mongers want you to have the emotional reaction that they want you to have because they're trying to push something on you. And that's what kills me about finding it now within the witchcraft or the magical community is it goes against everything that our community essentially stands for. We're here for freedom of your beliefs, like believe what you want, practice how you want. We're here for inclusion of others despite your differences. We welcome people from all walks of life, all genders, all races, all sexual orientations, all of it. We witches are like, hey, as long as you're not hurting me, hurting anybody, I don't give a shit who you are or what you do, welcome, And then we also in our community have want a lack of fear or guilt about how we practice or what we believe, because a lot of us came from that fear-mongered Christianity or another religion where you are beaten down to nothing in order to believe a certain way and practice a certain way. So that's where fear-mongering within the witchcraft community just absolutely blows my fucking mind. And most recently, I have seen two really big motivators in this fear-mongering within our community. The first one being the eclipse that happened, and then the second one being this doom and gloom is coming. And I've received downloads from, whoever, ancestors, guides, higher self, whatever, that doom and gloom is coming. And this is how you can prepare yourself. Those have been the two major motivators of fear-mongering within the witchcraft community lately. Now, I did an entire episode on eclipse magic a few weeks ago. Okay, so my opinions on eclipse magic, whether or not you should be practicing during an eclipse, I did a whole episode on them. But so many witches for so long have said, don't ever practice magic during an eclipse because the energy is too chaotic. That's a fear-mongering thing. I'm not really sure what the end game is of that fear-mongering, because fear-mongers have an end game. Okay, and we'll get to that here in a second too. But they're there to scare you, like that. Saying shit like that is there to scare you into practicing magic a certain way, or to scare you to create fear in your own ability to trust your intuition as a witch, which is bullshit, because that's why we're all here. We're all here to trust our own intuition more, to follow our gut, to live more magically, to live within that magical flow. And the minute someone comes along and says, no, don't do that, you're like, whoa, what? It stops your flow. And that's fucking bullshit to have someone else stop your flow. Okay. So I did a whole episode, but with the eclipse, just the solar eclipse happening, we had a lot of people sitting there saying, oh, don't ever practice magic during an eclipse. But the cool thing is that this year, I loved seeing it. There was a huge pushback on that. There were a lot of accounts. I saw so many reels, TikToks, posts, everything from people within the witchcraft community saying, hey, this is a limiting belief. This is bullshit. You practice eclipse magic how you want to. But here's information about eclipses and the energy of eclipses. Do with it what you will. And I fucking loved it. And I am so happy that my episode that went out weeks prior to the solar eclipse, was part of this movement, was one of the posts encouraging witches to practice their own magic. Here's information about eclipses. Now, you do use it how you want to. But I mean, I did see some posts about specific candle spells you can do and specific magic you can do during eclipse. And I loved fucking seeing it. And I loved fucking being a part of it. Okay? So I loved this pushback this year. Maybe with the next eclipse, whether it's lunar eclipse or partial solar, like whatever happens next, maybe we won't have all these bitchy witches coming forward saying, don't ever do that. Okay, maybe we can shut them up finally. So moving on, I've seen a lot of doom and gloom posts recently from within the witchy and magical community about the age of whatever's happening right now, about everything that started in 2020 and this progression of humanity and this progression of energy and what's going to be happening and blah, blah, blah. Okay. But one of them stood out to me a lot. And it stood out to me because it was posted by a very well-respected account within the magical community. And it was complete and utter fear-mongering. And I'm not going to point out the exact account, okay? Because I am here to talk about fear-mongering within the witchcraft community. I'm not here to point fingers or say this, like to call a person out, because that could also be perceived as bullying, and I'm not here to do that. I'm here to shed light on fear-mongering and how it actually hurts the witchcraft community and why it shouldn't be a part of the witchcraft community. So a major hoodoo account on social media posted recently that she had downloaded a message from her guides or her ancestors that the next decade or so has these absolutely horrible things coming, okay? She listed these things and then went on to say in another post that we needed to be aware of the people that would be coming forward in the next few years with fear-mongering tactics, causing you to be fearful of everything. And I had to sit there for a second and go, like this post? Like this post exactly? Like what you're doing right now by telling everyone that the world's going to come to an end in the next decade and these are the horrible things coming? Like that kind of fear-mongering? Other people are going to be doing it, but not you. Other people. Okay, got it. Y'all see where I'm going with that? Anyway, then in a separate post, and here's where it gets fun, she said that customers of hers who had participated in this ritual of hers would be thankful they did with everything coming up and that they would be fine. There's your kicker, folks. This is the definition of fear-mongering and fear-mongering for sales or profit. This is a direct, this is bad shit coming up, but if you're a customer of mine and you participate in my rituals, you'll be fine. Do y'all see that? That is fear-mongering for profit. It is spreading fear. It is instilling fear in others to push your own agenda, okay? I am so saddened to see this in the witchcraft community. And I get it. I see it a lot by smaller accounts. Okay, this is a huge account with a huge following that I at one point had a lot of respect for. A lot of respect for. And after seeing that, I lost respect because I saw the fear-mongering tactic. And it does happen a lot. It does happen more in the witchcraft community. It happens on a small scale, you know? It happens in the wellness community a lot, which I do want to differentiate between the wellness community and the witchcraft community, because the wellness community is becoming more and more toxic. It's those toxic positivity people that are like, only think positive thoughts and your dreams will come true. That's the wellness community, and there's a lot of fear-mongering happening in there, especially by quote-unquote spiritual coaches who are like, if you don't give me $10,000 to coach you in your business, then your business is going to fail. That's part of the wellness community. That's part of that toxic positivity. That happens a lot there. It trickles over into the witchcraft community when you see people like, oh, this is going to happen unless you buy my thing. Like, I have seen that. It happens with smaller accounts. It usually does not happen on the huge scale that I have seen it from this once respected account that I saw it on. Okay. So the fact that it's trickling over, the fact that it's being so, like, it was blatant to me and to other people around me. I got forwarded stuff by a couple of different people. Like, have you seen this shit? And I'm like, oh my God, that's fear-mongering for sales or profit. And that's horrible. And I'm so saddened to see it in our community. All right. So now that I've brought this to your attention, as far as fear-mongering, what it is in the witchcraft community, and the fact that it is starting to trickle over here, this is what I have to say about it. Okay. Shed your fears. And if anyone comes at you pushing fears down your throat, then question it. Okay. What are they gaining by spreading or instilling fear? Are they trying to sell you something to alleviate this fear? Are they trying to start a cult? Let's face it. I am a frequent cult documentary watcher. I'm fascinated by occult mentality. Most cults are started by fear mongering. Most of them are apocalyptic cults. The end of the world's coming. Come join us and we'll go to the mothership together. I don't know, whatever. But you have to wonder about that in this day and age. Like, are they trying to gain a following for power? And then that's another thing. Like, are they posting controversial shit to get more likes or follows? I mean, that's a thing in social media as well. So if anyone comes at you with, like, if you're reading something, and even, yes, if it is a well-respected account that you've been following for years, and they come at you with, oh, doom and gloom, and here's things, and da-da-da-da, question it. Okay, what's their motivation? What are they getting out of it? Because a lot of accounts in the witchy community, I'm going to say we, because I'm part of the witchy community, we love to share downloads with you. We love to share, like, oh shit, I was meditating and I got this really cool message. The difference lies in how that message makes you feel. Okay. If that message that we're getting instills fear in you, makes you cower, makes you, fearful for the future, then maybe you shouldn't follow that person anymore, honestly, And then you have to question, like, if this is a message they received, I mean, shit happens in the spirit realm when you meditate. This is why when you go to meditate, you should always protect yourself, because when you open yourself in the spirit realm to messages, they may not be coming from your guides. So you don't know who this person channeled for these doom and gloom messages. I mean, let's be honest about that as well. So question them if they're not uplifting, because I think a lot of us in the witchcraft and the spiritual community, like, we're here to teach, we're here to uplift, we're here to inspire. And if we come out with something that is the opposite of that, where did it come from? So that's like the first thing is shed your fears. If anyone comes at you with fear-mongering tactics, then question it. Why are they doing this? What do they gain in this? Okay. I can say this as well, as someone who has lived pretty much my entire life in fear. I grew up with two parents who were very different. One of my parents was very open and like, oh, go explore, go make mistakes, go do this, go do that. And another one of my parents was very, don't do that. That's scary. Don't do. And when the don't do's weigh out the do's in your childhood, you begin to develop your own fears about doing anything new or scary, So as someone who grew up in a very sheltered childhood, it has taken me years and lots of therapy to not be ruled by fear. And it is something that I struggle with every single day. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I have started to open up in my stories. I've started to share more. But that has come with a great struggle that I have had to finally face, because in my mind, I'm like, what if I say the wrong thing and everyone hates me? So even doing this podcast episode today was something I struggled with, and something I finally had to look at fear and say, fuck you, I'm doing it. But I was and am so scared of the repercussions of talking about this that it's been something I've wanted to do for a little while, and finally had to have the right catalyst, the right motivator in order to put this episode out. And I had to do a lot of, fuck it, let's do it, let's do this, okay? So when it comes to your spiritual practice, be fearless. That is my biggest piece of advice that I can give anyone. And it is something that, as I'm on my own journey with fear and being ruled by fear for pretty much my entire life, the more I shed fear, the more I see magic happen, okay? And this is how fear affects your magic, all right? Let's jump into this. And I want to say, I may have done an episode about this at the beginning of my podcast or something similar to this, but I want to revisit it because not only is it applicable to what I'm talking about today, but it's very applicable in my life and on my journey where I'm at right now. So I definitely want to share it with you. So fear makes you cower. If you can think right now of something you're fearful of, what happens in your body? Because fear lives in the body in different places for different people, okay? Fear looks a different way to different people, all right? But it will cause a physical response. And whether it causes a physical response in your chest, your stomach, your neck, your shoulders, whether you get a headache, like the physical response will be different. There's generally one physical response that will be the same for every person who experiences fear, and that's a cowering. Okay, so think of it. When something happens and you are fearful, you want to protect as much of yourself as possible. So your body almost crawls into a fetal position, or your shoulders start to bend forward. You start to come into this place of pulling everything in and shrinking down as small as possible. Okay, that's what fear generally does to every person, whether you realize it or not. Okay, that is a physical response to fear, is to bring yourself in, to bend over, to cower, to pull yourself together, to make yourself as small as possible. Now, if you're a visual person with me and you're visualizing this, or you even are tightening your body to kind of experience what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it, can magic come from this place? Do you feel like doing anything when you are curled up in a little ball in your bed or on the floor, gripped by fear? For those of you who experience anxiety or panic attacks and you end up on the floor, you end up in a curled up fetal position, any of this, could you even imagine doing magic or trying to manifest your desires in this position? It doesn't happen, okay? Magic is supposed to feel open. Oh my gosh, when you perform your spell, you want your arms out, your legs out, your chest out. You want all of that energy that you have gathered within you and you've attached to your intention, to your spell, to your ritual. You want to push that out into the world like the Care Bear stare, and you want to get it out there and get it as far into the universe as possible. You want to spread that energy everywhere. Okay? You cannot do that from a fear-based position physically. So this is how fear affects your magic. You go from being empowered, I'm a witch, I have control over my future, I can manifest whatever the fuck I want to manifest. Hell yes. Do you see how empowering that is? You want to stand like Superman in that Superman pose. You want to open yourself up. You want to stick your chest out. You want to say, I am witch. Hear me roar. And then someone comes along and says, oh, doom and gloom, the world's ending. And what do? Oh, shit. You cower. You curl up. You cannot perform magic from that curled up space. You have to perform magic wide open, let that shit fly. So that is how fear affects your magic, is the minute fear sets in, your body language changes. The doubt sets in, you cower, you curl up in that fetal position. And then where's your magic going? Your magic is going from your Care Bear stare chest, stomach area into your knees because you're curled up in a fetal position. It's not going out in the universe. It's not going out to find the path of least resistance to bring you back the shit you just asked for. It's going into your knees or your feet, and it's just stopping. So you need to open yourself up. This is how fear can affect your magic so much. And this is why I say, as a person who has lived in fear for the majority of their life, you cannot manifest your dreams from a place of fear. You cannot practice magic from a place of fear. And the more fearless you become, the more you open yourself up, the more successful your magic is. So, what has helped me do this? Switching my frame of mind to, for example, this episode specifically. The fear that set in is, well, fuck. What if people hear it? They know who I'm talking about. They fucking tell the person and bam, what are the repercussions of that? You know, which I never mention names and I'm not here to do that kind of thing. But like the what ifs. What if I send this message out into the world and somehow I'm fucking called a fear-mongerer? Because let me tell you, that's happened. I did an episode on gatekeeping and I was turned around and called a fucking gatekeeper. So I have this fear, and it's not even irrational fears. Like I said, I did an entire episode on gatekeeping and someone called me a gatekeeper. So this is something that has happened to me. I have evidence in the back of my head to support this fear, okay? So what if I'm sitting here talking about fear-mongering and how it has no place in the witchcraft community? Someone hears this episode, misinterprets my positive message of don't settle for fear-mongering into she's fear-mongering me. And bam, I get fucking slammed. So that's a fear, okay, of me putting this out. But what I did, instead of saying, okay, what if this episode is a massive failure and it's misconstrued and it's absolutely horrible? What if it's not received the way that I want it to be received? And I switched that into, but what if it helps a single person? But what if this episode is successful and it helps people recognize fear-mongering and say no to it? What if my words really click with somebody and empowers them to shed a fear and move on with their life over something? Like, what if? So that's what you have to do. Look at it from a place of curiosity, okay? Curiosity and fear can almost not exist in the exact same position, okay? So when you're faced with something and fear sets in and you're like, oh my God, what if I fail? What if you succeed? What happens if you push this button? What happens? Instead of being like, oh, what happens if I push that button? What happens if I push that button? I mean, like you learn one way or another. That's the best form of learning. You know, when we were children and we were told, don't touch that hot stove, you're like, okay, like I hear what my mom is saying, but I want to touch the stove. So what if I just reach up real quick when she's not looking and, oh, fuck, that burned. Well, I'm never going to do that shit again. Do you know? That's the best form of learning that there is. But you have to go back to being a child. You have to go back to that childlike curiosity. So instead of hearing something or seeing something or wanting to do something and being like, ooh, but what if I do that? Oh, flip it. What if I do that? Like, look what happened. and weigh the consequences as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't go stand on the edge of a cliff and go, what happens if I jump? You know what's going to happen, okay? Not good things. Good things are not going to happen. So you have to weigh the consequences with your action. You have to weigh the good with the bad. And then you have to look at it logically from a place that is not full of fear. Because fear is going to tell you every single time to stay in your comfort zone. Fear is going to tell, like, your comfort zone is safe. It's fine. So fear is going to try and keep you in that comfort zone, but growth does not happen in your comfort zone. You know, expansion does not happen in your comfort zone. Magic does not happen in your comfort zone. It's when you push yourself outside of the comfort zone that real change and manifestation occurs. So the next time something happens and fear sets in, run through all of it in your head real quick and then sit there and go, you know what? Not what if I do this? Oh my God. What if I do this? Hell yes. Okay? So that is what I have for you today. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was inspirational. I hope that if it was misperceived in any way, shape, or form, maybe you will go back and listen to it a second time and with new ears and be like, no, okay, she was not fear-mongering. That's cool. So yeah, I want to thank you all so much for giving me a platform to share my knowledge, share my opinions, spread hopefully a little bit of magical positivity in the world, and for being here. And if you really enjoy Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, please like, follow, spread the news, share, comment. If you're listening on like Spotify, I think there's a place to like comment, let me know, or you can hit me up on Instagram. I always do a little post for the podcast. Comment in the post and let me know if you enjoyed this episode, if you want to have more episodes like this, because I love being able to provide for you all what you want to hear from me, whether it's my opinion or just magical knowledge, whatever it is, let me know. Thank you again, and I will see you all soon. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.